Thank you guys for watching Now You See TV. We're live right now with Chaim Goldman, and I have John Hall in the studio with me. He is my co-host, and as most of you already know that are listening, but for those of you that are new tonight, for those of you who are part of Chaim's audience, we thank you for coming and showing up with us. And for those of you that don't know who Chaim is, he has Biblical Health TV. He's trying to bridge the gap in a lot of things. I'll let him explain some of that stuff to you. But Chaim, thank you so much for coming on the show, man. We appreciate it. I've been listening to you for a long time, and I know John has as well.
Well, that's fantastic. Shalom. Yeah, a lot of people don't know this, but I am quite famous. And so, I find out all the time, when you're in the internet and you're putting stuff out there, you have no idea about the reach. And what we'll be talking about is that we're planning a tour. So we're finally going to get out there among the people. And I'm so looking forward to that because that's the place to be for sure.
Yeah, and we'll definitely have to talk to you about that as well. So when you go for your tour, you just let us know about it. So we'll also plug it for you on our channel. But one thing we'd like to get from you, Chaim, is I'd really like to get your testimony and tell people how you came to know the Messiah and how you came into being a believer. And I'll let you roll with that, so you can just let us know. That's one thing I like to do with all our guests, so people that are not familiar with them will get a chance to hear how they came to the light.
For sure. I'd love to do that. Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us here. John and John, thank you for having me. The ministry that we operate under right now is Repairing the Breach, and that really is my heart from Isaiah 58 about we would be called repairers of the breach, and that's really my testimony. I know you want more than that. You want me to back up, but that really is the testimony that everything that we do, myself, my wife, my family. So my testimony, I'm been a believer for over 20 years, born Jewish and raised pretty Reformed, secular Jewish, had a bar mitzvah and things like that, but faith wasn't something that was real. And it wasn't, but, we kept the holidays and things like that, as a lot of sort of quasi-secular religious people do. But it was when I was in my mid-late 20s that I started having this spiritual awakening and found myself, after going on a journey of a certain amount, one at a service, at a synagogue service, a friend of mine in high school actually became Orthodox eventually, was going to, I was at like a Rosh Hashanah or Yom Kippur service at a new synagogue and found myself weeping during the service. I'm like, that's weird. What's going on? I'm just a normal secular guy in my 20s. But a short time after that, I found myself at a church. Now, I had had experience in churches. I had gone there as I traveled. I didn't really mind going in, and also I was videotaping, because I'm a television producer. I was videotaping weddings, so I was going into churches a whole bunch for my work. And I went there because it was a Sunday morning. I woke up and I felt like I wanted to praise God. Very strange. When I think back to that time, it's like, where was I? What was going on? Where was I? But I was obviously being led by the Almighty. It was my time, right? We don't choose Him; He chooses us. So I ended up there, and I don't remember the sermon, but I was living in Philadelphia at the time. Went in Center City, Philadelphia, an all-black church. I had hair down to my shoulders, and I went in. I don't even remember the sermon, but when it was time they gave the call, I just knew I needed to go up. And I did, and I gave my life to Jesus that day. But, as a Jewish person, when you wake up a little bit, you say, my God, what did I do? Started thinking about, well, what does this mean? I had this thing in my head that, about being the head and not the tail and all that. It's like, what is our role here? And how can this be? And then I remembered years before, the guy who owned the gym that I worked out at was telling me about this Messianic Judaism. And I looked in the phone book, and a Messianic Jewish synagogue was 10 minutes away from where I was living. This was Beth Yeshua in Philadelphia. And so I went there, and I started getting into my identity, learning about that, and something that, to this day is still being defined, because really any of these ways that we practice can become religion. And, Messianic Judaism, over the 50 years that it's been around and really a movement of God, has become an institutionalized religion and a denomination, and like so many of the others. And so as I've been growing and developing, and then ended up a couple years later moving down to Florida and joined a Torah observant congregation in South Florida, and then when I ended up going over to Israel with Michael Rood and starting to do his TV show, and came back to the States and met my bride, and we moved back to Israel, lived there for 9 years. I'm a dual citizen there, where most of my children were born over there. Is going through all of these incarnations of who am I, and what is this thing, and what is this faith, and what does it really mean to be a believer? Who are we and whose are we, and what does that mean in our daily life? And so, there's a lot to my testimony over the past 20 years, but I've realized that, everything in our life gets us to where we are right now. Everything in my life ended me up right here in front of this camera right now, is that we need to walk in our kingdom calling. And so my testimony, my calling that I've determined that this is what the Almighty has for me, is I'm here to help other people walk in their calling. And so everything that we do, I'm a TV producer, I help people tell stories, right, is to help people figure out who they are, why they've been called into the kingdom for such a time as this, and light a fire under them, give them a kick in the tush, and say, you have to do this, because our calling isn't to just get saved and get other people saved like some big celestial multi-level marketing thing. It's to actually walk in that kingdom calling, to do greater works than Yeshua even did. We have the full spirit that he had in us. And so my testimony is that I'm sitting here today talking to you, encouraging the rest of the body to just, get out there and do something. Just do it. You can do this.